Hello everybody, a little bit of a different video here today as we kind of talk about the Canada drought for the Stanley Cup and the situation that we're looking at for this upcoming Stanley Cup playoffs. While nothing is set in stone at the moment, there are some teams that look like they will definitely make it, and we know of course these teams are Canadian, so let's talk about them and then kind of what I think will happen here on whether or not I think the drought will be broken. So before we start, I wanted to say please make sure to subscribe to me if you're new to me, new to hockey, whatever the case may be. I'd love to have you here along the way as I try to do this as a career. Now, let's get into it. So, of course, we know that the Stanley Cup drought dates back all the way to 1993, the last time the Montreal Canadiens went on to win the Stanley Cup. That is a lifetime ago. I'm going to be honest with you. I wasn't even born yet. I was -7, so you're looking at this being 30 years. And I know a lot of people get angry and say, oh, there's less Canadian teams, blah, blah, blah. The reality is we're looking at what could happen for this season, not about getting angry about previous calls, especially 04 with Calgary fans. We're not going there because I get it. There's plenty of reasons to be angry, I'm sure, if you're fans of those teams. That being said, we're only looking at 3 teams being in the spot where they could end Canada's drought this season, and even that isn't a guarantee because if you look at teams like the Vancouver Canucks, they're probably going to miss the playoffs. In fact, I would say they definitely are. The Calgary Flames, I think it's another team that maybe, just maybe, they might not make it, even though they really are good at out-shooting teams, and that's kind of another story for another video. Montreal Canadiens rebuilding. Ottawa Senators, a club that still has room to grow, but they're not there yet. So as of right now, we're probably looking at just the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Edmonton Oilers, and then the Winnipeg Jets maybe as the 3 teams that get in. Calgary might, we'll say, since at the moment they're not in a wild card spot, we'll ignore that. So starting off, out of the 3 teams, who do I think is the least likely to win the Stanley Cup out of these 3 teams? Winnipeg. And this is a club that maybe, just maybe, they could do it. Hellebuyck is a good goalie, and they've got some things to like about the club, but I feel like lately they haven't been the team that a lot of people were hoping for. And my biggest problem is they might not even make the playoffs. Like I said, currently when I'm looking at this, I recorded this on a Thursday, they are in a wild card spot, but the Predators have some games in hand compared to them and some upcoming games against them as well. So we'll see what happens there. By the time this gets out, this will probably be right after that Winnipeg-Nashville game. So maybe, just maybe, Winnipeg gained some ground there. But yeah, I look at this club and I know this is a team that really hasn't made a deep run in a minute. I also think of Winnipeg as a group that if Hellebuyck gets hot and they just get some timely goals, they are going to be a club that could make a run, but I almost see them as a team that gets to the Stanley Cup final and then bows out. So yeah, Winnipeg, realistically, I'm going to say I don't see as being a Stanley Cup champion this year or contender, but with the West being crazy, you never really know. Plus, again, who they've got in it really could determine that for them. As for the other 2 teams, I would probably say Toronto is the club that is second least likely to win the Stanley Cup. Why exactly? Because they just have to go through the gauntlet that is the Eastern Conference. You're looking at this, they have so many good teams that they're going to have to go through. By the time that they make it, if they do make it, they're going to be exhausted in facing other teams that maybe have had an easier path to the final. I don't exactly know what's going to happen there. Toronto is a club that has made a lot of additions, I will say that, and has been a legit Stanley Cup threat for multiple years in a row now. Haven't been able to bust through that door, but again, looking at who they got to go through, you're probably looking at a date with the Tampa Bay Lightning in the first round. If they get through that, which I definitely think that they could win that series, then you're going to have to go on from there and see how the rest of the eastern side plays out. And you're still going to have a hard time getting through there because there are 5-6 teams that are capable of going on that run. Now, if they make it there, maybe they will be able to get past whoever they have to face in the Western Conference, which leaves the Edmonton Oilers. Do I think that the Oilers are the best team, compared to not Edmonton, but Toronto or Winnipeg? No, Edmonton is not the best. The best of the bunch is Toronto, hands down. But you're looking at a situation where the Oilers still are in a spot where they can move around with their seating a little bit and, try to get their best spot there in the Pacific. And they have the dynamic duo that is Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. That club went on a run last year. they have some situations where maybe Campbell isn't the guy they need him to be, and this club is far from perfect. However, they did show last year that they were capable of going on a run and getting deep into the playoffs. Are they a club that can do it again? Probably, because they are, having the best player in the world helps, but they are in a spot where they broke down the door last year, kind of got some of that stuff off their back. And then also the West is kind of sporadic, and I see it as being some teams that are tough for sure, but they're a little bit more weak. And then if they're able to get on that run, maybe they get Alberta behind them. Well, not Southern Alberta, but part of Alberta behind them, and then try to go on to win the Stanley Cup. Having said all this, out of the 3 teams, do I see the Stanley Cup drought ending this year? Maybe. I'm going to be honest here. I still got to say that the Maple Leafs are the best club out of the bunch. And I think that if they got past the Lightning and they got some of that stuff off of their back about the first round, maybe they could get things to get rolling for them. O'Reilly should be back. He should be healthy. Tavares is going to be there. They are going to have a great, 1-2-3 punch. If they decide to do that in the playoffs, probably won't. Probably move Tavares out to the wing like they had been with O'Reilly being there. But still, you look at those first 2 lines especially, you say, oh my gosh, this is a really good, line that they have here, first line and second line. And they are a club that would be getting some demons off their back if they were able to get past the first round and then get past Tampa Bay. Who knows? Boston's one of those clubs that I do think is good. President's curse is a real thing. If they had to run into them, I'd have to look at how the standings are working out right now. I don't think they'd have to at the moment. But still, in general, you have other teams like the Rangers, the Hurricanes, and other clubs that look really, really good for this team. But all in all, if I had to take a bet, just because there are less Canadian teams and there aren't a ton of Canadian teams in the playoffs this season, I would have to say the verdict, unsurprisingly, is that Canada will probably go another year without raising the Stanley Cup. We will have to see, though. Who do you think will do it, and do you think it'll be done? Let me know down below in the comments. Also, please make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. Everybody stay safe. Have a great night, and you go Valky, all right. Goodbye, Brigadiers and Brigadettes. This is your captain signing off. Have a great night.